So is this is working? Okay. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the energy panel of Tatra Summit. My name is Julian Popov. I'm a fellow of the European Climate Foundation and chairman of the Building Performance Institute Europe and energy security advisor of the Bulgarian president. But what I'll do this morning, I will moderate our distinguished panel. We have with us Mr. Maro Šefčovič, who is well known to all of you, Vice President of the European Commission, responsible for the Energy Union. We have Vasil Hudek, the Minister of Slovakia for Economy. Also, Robin Dunnigan. I will have to read her position because it's always very long when Deputy Assistant Secretary for Energy Diplomacy, Bureau of Energy Resources, U.S. Department of State. And we have also Riccardo Puliti, and who is Managing Director of Energy European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And Mr. Mirek Topolanek, former. So the focus of our discussion will be energy security. I mean, this is very often seen as a great dilemma that we have to solve and big trade-offs, and we will explore whether that's the case or not. But first of all, I would like to ask Mr. Šefčovič to give us a short keynote speech and introduce us in the latest development of the Energy Union, a project that effectively started just over 1 year ago when the new Commission started its work on 1st of November, I think, was 2014. Mr. Šefčovič.
Thank you very much, Julian. Good morning to everyone. At first, I really would like to thank to the organizers for organizing this event, for organizing it in such an excellent way, for organizing it in my city, what I appreciate in particular, and for providing the possibility what I think we need a lot in Europe, because I think after I was listening yesterday to the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister and this morning to the Slovak President, I think there is one thing we need in Europe. We need to talk. We need to talk in Brussels, in Western Europe, we need to talk in Central Europe, because simply we're going through very challenging times where we need to work, all of us, governmental officials, EU institutions, representatives, civic societies, NGOs, on how to shape the Europe, how to keep the Europe project full of that promise, full of that positive content it always have. I believe we will do it, because Europe was shaped through the crises. Now we can have a feeling that there is one crisis too many, that we went through very difficult economic times. We've been focusing the first semester on the situations in Greece. And of course, now we have on our hands very, very difficult migration crisis as well. But nevertheless, this panel is about how to fuel the cooperation in the field of energy. And I think that here we have a positive story to tell. Because if somebody will tell me 5 or 10 years ago that we will be working together on the Energy Union and we will be presenting the strategy how to get these 28 member states and our neighbors to support one common project for energy and climate policy, I would say that this is very far-fetched and that this is too optimistic. But I have to say that since the 9 months we put our strategy for the Energy Union on the table, we can already say there was a lot of progress achieved. At first, I was very much encouraged that such an important proposal, and especially in the area where the national reflexes are still very, very, very strong, got the unanimous support by the heads of states and government in the European Council. that it was positively perceived by all the ministers, be it from ministers, Ministerial Council of Energy, Transport, Environment, or competitiveness. And as you know, I started the Energy Union tour, and I covered more than 20 member states, where I'm trying to speak to different audiences, starting with the government, ending with the civic society or young people in the schools, and very often having citizens dialogue. And I can tell you that energy and climate, this is one topic which interests everybody. Everybody understands the clean environment. Everybody understands the energy bill. Everybody understands how the energy is important for the competitiveness of our economy. Of course, one last element which we needed to get this project moving, and moving with a big speed, was a concern on energy security. And that was one of the issues which is very recurring, which I believe we will also discuss today. So what we did just in this segment, since the new strategy and very ambitious action plan was approved. Of course, the first big meeting we have, with a bit of a, I would say, emergency panic feeling, was what to do after the South Stream project was cancelled. And it was quite clear that we need to provide security for our Southeast Europe, that we need to find a solution for Western Balkans. We need to take on board the energy security concerns in Moldova, in Ukraine, and we did it. We created in record time a group which got the acronym CESEC, which stands for the connectivity of Central and Southeastern Europe. And again, in very, very short period of time, we managed to actually agree on the 10 key interconnecting projects, which would guarantee that if we would really execute them, implement them, and they are planned, that each of these countries would gradually enter into the situation where there was in the first meeting in Sofia, in second meeting in Dubrovnik, but I have to say that for the first time you saw that these countries were not fighting for this signed up to this declaration, and we had 10 projects, and for Bulgaria there actually are 4 of them on the list. But the issue was how to make sure that this region would be better interconnected, that this region would be better integrated in the European energy systems. And I have to underline that it was the same spirit which prevailed in the negotiations on finally linking better Iberian Peninsula with the rest of Europe. It was the same approach which helped us to create the Nordic and Baltic interconnectors and cooperation. And I have to say that it was the same spirit I felt when we've been discussing together with Ricardo the progress on the Southern Gas Corridor, which would bring for the first time 2020. And I saw how much also the countries from the region are interested in the success of this project. So it's not only Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Georgia, but it's also Turkmenistan. These are also countries from the Eastern Mediterranean, where we also had a good news over the last few months with the new discoveries of these tremendous gas fields close to Egypt, close to Israel, and close to Cyprus. Because I believe that all this would create new possibilities for increasing energy security in Europe. I just came from the United States and Canada, and of course we Europeans are pushing very much for lifting the export restrictions for LNG, for crude oil. We see positive developments in the Congress. I know that there are very delicate negotiations going on between administration, Congress, and the Senate. But I believe that seeing the recent developments on the landscape of energy, it's quite clear that Europe is very valued, very important customers. We are paying more than $1 billion per day for our energy imports, and as such, we definitely are on the map of every possible energy exporter, and we just have to make sure that we create preconditions for being sure that we get fair prices, good treatment, and that we would use the magnitude and the size of the biggest economy in the world, and this is, as you know very well, the European economy. I have to say that we went also through the turbulent summer, making sure that Ukraine will have enough gas for its domestic consumption and enough gas to guarantee secure and safe transit to Europe. We had very intense trilateral talks with our Ukrainian and Russian partners. We had very intensive consultations with our international financial institutions and the partners. And I have to say, thanks to the goodwill, enormous creativity, we actually managed to secure adequate financing for this heating period, and we are also working together on structural reform changes in Ukraine to make sure that the energy system would be more and more modeled according to the European approaches. They are adopting the European type of the legislation, and I think it's our duty to help them. What will happen in the field of the energy union in the next few months? I will just show you this graph. I know it's too small to read, but here you see what we want to do. And this is really the small print, yeah? But what I want to show you actually is that this is already done, and this is what we are going to do. And what we have done was already the start in the summer with what I think was the most overdue and what we really needed to signal very clearly before our conference in Paris. How to reform our emission trading system, how to reform our electricity market design, and how to highlight the fact that what we do here in the field of the energy union has actually one big aim, and this is to make sure that the European consumers are treated better than before. After that, we've been working very hard on reforming our financial support for research and innovation in the field of energy, so-called Strategic Energy Technology Plan. And of course, the next year, and therefore what I was showing you, this small graph, because next year we see as a year of delivery. Because we want to present 3 packages. First one on security of supply, in January, February, with the LNG strategy, with the revised security of gas supply directive, where we want also to touch the sensitive issue of transparency of the contract. We want to include into this the heating and cooling strategy, because this is where we spend almost 50% of our energy in Europe. And I think that we can heat and cool our buildings in a much more efficient way. In the summer, we will be working on what I believe would be a result of positive outcome of COP21 in Paris, meaning how we can further decarbonize of our economy, especially the transport, what we can do in so-called non-ETS sectors like agriculture, efficiency of our buildings, and transport. And then, of course, we would like to conclude the year by this landmark proposal, how to redesign electricity markets in Europe. And you know, that's a huge issue, because we have different schemes of subsidies of our energy system. We are subsidizing different energies. It costs us 120 billion euros a year. We are now discussing in more and more countries so-called capacity market mechanism, which is additional form of type of subsidy, and we need to find a way how to make sure that our electricity bill is not 3 or 4 times higher than the electricity bill of our partners in United States. Why we are rushing so much? Why do I want to do it everything by the end of the next year? Because I'm fully aware that this would be enormous task for the co-legislator, for the member states and for the European Parliament to actually transform these Commission's proposals into the valid legislation. So we need time. 2017, 2018, what will remain from 2019, to make sure that we actually progress and that we would be leaving the Commission offices with a feeling that now we have solid fundament for a new energy systems in Europe. And I'm rushing so much because on the 18th of November, when I will present the first State of the Energy Union report, I want to ask the member states. Next year, you will see everything on the table. And therefore, we would like to ask you in 2017 to start to work on your long-term national energy and climate plans. Because I think every member state needs this political debate, need this expert debate, and we need to move in one pace with the same structure of the long-term planning from now on until 2030, so we can see how we are transforming our energy systems together in a good synchronization and in a way that we can measure our common efforts. And if you allow me the last comment, because I'm sure that this would be the issue which would come in a debate, and this is Nord Stream. This morning I spoke again with the Deputy Chancellor Sigmar Gabriel, and I have to say that I very much appreciate the correct way how we exchange the information, not only on this, as you notice, we have quite a lot of topics to discuss, starting with the car industry, going through energy security, and of course discussing this project which attracts enormous political attention. And when we've been discussing this project for the first time, I told him quite clearly that, look, from the point of view of many countries in the Central and Eastern Europe, it's quite clear that this project has very strong meaning from the point of view of energy security. It would have very important consequences for the overall gas balance in Central and Eastern Europe. Currently, the capacity for transporting of the gas from Russia to the EU is used only at 50%. So there is a lot of question marks why the additional excess transport capacity needs to be built. What does it mean for the transit through Ukraine? And you know that it's not only Commission or myself who highlighting this issue, but I have a unanimous decision of the foreign minister who stated very clearly the strategic importance on the preservation of the gas transit route going through Ukraine. And there are, of course, other elements which kind of come to the forefront when it comes to the project. And of course, as we showed with the previous projects like the South Stream, for the European Commission it's very clear that such a project would fully respect European law, public procurement, third energy package, all the environmental aspects of the project of this magnitude. And I'm very glad that Mr. Gabriel reassured me that all these issues will also raised with the Russian partners, that they understand the need to find the solutions for continuation of the gas transit for a period for post-2019. I think we need to be very clear and discuss what should be the minimum volumes, how we can use the Ukrainian gas storages as a strategic asset for the European energy security. How can we help Ukrainian partners to reform, to renovate the gas system? Here again, EBRD and the World Bank are doing the great job and started already with the partial renovations of the system. But how to make sure that we would be able to secure adequate investments into modernization of the Ukrainian gas system? How we would make sure that the energy security for Central and Southeastern Europe is not weakened, but it's stronger in the future, because this is what it's the aim of the Energy Union, to make sure that we are looking for comprehensive energy security solutions for the whole Europe and for our partners in the energy community, be it our partners to the east, be it Western Balkan countries, or be it our partners to the south. So I think that as you have seen, there is a lot to do in the field of Energy Union. We have action plan. I'm very glad to say we are on track. But I am doing this Energy Union tour because I'm in a kind of campaign. I'm trying to convince you. I'm trying to convince the people in other European member states that we need their support, because I'm fully conscious that we cannot build Energy Union in Brussels. We need to build it here in Slovakia, in Czech Republic, in Germany, in Poland, in all our member states, and we have to do it in a structured, organized, synchronized way, so our businesses would see where we are heading, our partners would see what is our trajectory, and that our investors will